Hey everyone, Brad Walker here, your local Airdrie Realtor, here with your Airdrie real estate market update for March 2023. Well, you may have heard sales are down this year as compared to last year, but they are everywhere. So has buyer demand dropped off a cliff, or do we have an inventory crisis on our hands? Well, the answer to that is neither, or both. Really depends how you look at it. And we're going to give you a better answer than that later on in this video, but for now, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and let's talk some numbers. Alright, well let's pull up our Airdrie market graphic for February here. You'll see that we had 100 sales in February. Now if we compare that to last year's sales of 289 in February, we're down 65%. But if we look at this chart with the previous 10 February sales, you can see we simply came back down to exactly where we seem to hover around for our February sales. Now at first glance it does look really bad, but that's only because our last couple of years were way above average for sales. Now moving on to our new listings, we saw 166 new listings during the month. This is again way down from the 385 we saw last February, but it's more in line with our 10-year average again for February. Now those sales and new listings gave us an inventory of 178 active listings to start March with, and this is where it starts to get a bit interesting. Where sales and new listings were currently hovering right around our 10-year average, our inventory number is quite a bit lower than our 10-year average. Now take a look at this chart that shows our February inventory for the last 13 years, and you can see that we're right in line with last year, and the only other time our inventory was this low was in 2014, which brings us now to our months of supply. Right now we have about 1.78 months of supply in our market, which is up slightly from last month, but still within a seller's market, which is anything below 2 months of inventory. So we have average sales, average new listing, lower inventory, and technically in a seller's market. So what does that mean for pricing? Well, you may have noticed on our graphic here that our benchmark price change has dipped into the negative. This is the first time that we've seen this since June 2020, but with how crazy things got last spring, this is exactly what we expected to happen this year. My guess is that we'll see our year-over-year percentage remain in the negative until about August this year likely. Now does that mean our prices are going down? Not exactly. It means that they're below where they were last February, but since then they went up a bit more, they dropped for a few months, and now moving into 2023, they've started rising again. So we again saw a month-over-month increase in overall prices of 1.5% in February. Now let's break that number down between our 4 types of homes. For our detached homes, which make up about 50% of our market right now in Airdrie, we currently have a benchmark price of $565,800, which is up about 1.8% over January. For our semi-detached homes or our duplexes, we currently have a benchmark price of $433,600, which is up about 1.7% compared to January. Now for our row homes or our townhomes here in Airdrie, we have a benchmark price right now of $312,000, which is also up but a little bit less at 0.6% over January. And that leaves us our apartment style condos, where we have a benchmark price of $219,300, which is up 1.9% as compared to January. So every single style of home here in Airdrie saw a price increase last month, with apartments leading the way, but just barely over detached and the semi-detached homes. So we've seen the monthly stats and the pricing changes, so now we can paint a pretty good picture of what's going on in our market right now. So to answer our 2 questions at the beginning of the video, do we still have buyer demand? Absolutely. For buyers, especially in that $300,000 to $500,000 range, it's still very competitive. And we're seeing 50% of our sales selling at or above list price. And it was exactly 50%. 50 out of our 100 sales in February sold either at or above our list price. So our sales are lower, but our buyer demand is still very strong here in Airdrie compared to the amount of listings that we have available. And next, do we have an inventory crisis? No, we don't. And I think that's an unpopular opinion amongst realtors that seem to always think that there isn't enough for sale. Ultimately, we're seeing more new listings than sales, and we're seeing our inventory slowly on the rise. And with almost 2 months of supply on the market right now, I wouldn't say that we have an inventory crisis, but if we look back to that inventory graph for February's for the last 13 years, you can see for quite a few years before the last couple years, we have had a lot of inventory this time of year. So for a lot of people who are in the market, realtors in the market right now, feels like there is hardly anything for sale, and it is going to be tighter for those buyers, but that's just how it's going to work here with a market that's in a seller's market. So I wouldn't say we have an inventory crisis, but we do have lower inventory than we've experienced for quite a few years. The market that we're in right now is leaning more towards that seller's market side, but by a fairly thin margin. A few extra listings over a couple months could push us right into that balanced market territory, which is where I think we're going to creep into as the year goes along. But I think throughout all of 2023, we're going to remain closer to the seller's market side of the spectrum, so it's just going to be something that we're going to have to get used to. Long story short, we're in a fairly busy market and prices are increasing right now, but not nearly as crazy as last year. Well, that's all we have for the market update this month. If you'd like to receive a market update specifically for your neighborhood in Airdrie, I have reports that I send out once per month for every single Airdrie neighborhood that'll show you the sale prices of the homes in your area. So if you'd like that, then there's a link in the description below to sign up for that, and we'd be happy to get that sent off to you. My name is Brad Walker, local Airdrie Realtor with Real Broker, and we'll see you in the next video.